Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by an S.
And I'm Leslie. I write as L. Penelope. And welcome to the show.
Today's episode is brought to you by HEA Quest from Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association.
HEA Quest is an online-only 4-hour event featuring 3 stellar panels of industry experts, as well as breakout rooms for networking with fellow authors.
If you write any combination of fantasy, science fiction, and romance, from paranormal romance to space opera, then you'll want to be there on Saturday, January 20th, 2024.
The speakers include some of our favorite people, like author Sarah Cannon, author coach Becca Syme, along with my former editor Monique Patterson from the Bramble Publishing imprint. For more information or to register, go to events.sfwa.org/HEA-quest.
Hey, Leslie, we are back for another installment. This time we're hostages to pleasure.
Hostage to pleasure. Can we talk about these titles for just a second? Because we haven't done it yet.
I know you really want to. What do you have to say?
All I have to say is, what's up with them? I mean,
No.
I'm not complaining necessarily, but is it just like a title generator from some sort of computer program that just puts in nouns and they just seem a little random sometimes. And they're on brand, they're consistent across the series, but what is up with them?
I don't know. Working backwards, Ashaya, and forgive me, I will say Ashaya and Ashaya at the same time. She was a hostage. So and then we have the word pleasure because that's what the cats bring, right?
That feels like a huge stretch. Yeah, you can say, okay, the son was a hostage, maybe
No, she
Dorian
was
is
a
a
hostage too.
hostage. What? And when she was locked in the lab and everything?
Oh, yeah, when they had basically stole her away and say you're doing this.
But yeah, to pleasure. Yes, you can say anybody could be a hostage.
Dorian's pleasure.
I still feel like this is a reach, if that's how you're titling your books, but
Well, mine to possess.
the last book,
I felt
yeah,
like I'm already forgetting people's names.
was that Clay and
Yeah.
Tally?
I felt like Clay was very possessive.
But aren't they all? That could have been all books could be
Okay,
called Mine to Possess.
I can't argue that one.
Caressed by Ice Book 3 with Judd. Yes, he's icy.
He's icy,
But
he's
at the same
pressure.
time,
Yeah.
it's a reach. I'm feeling this is a yoga position that they're in these titles.
Visions of Heat.
Visions
Faith had visions.
of hotness.
Oh.
What was the heat she was envisioning?
Well, no, the heat is the leopard of it all. The heat was Vaughn. Vaughn was the heat.
Again, that could have been the title of book 1.
I'm trying. And
I know you're trying. And I'm just being
sensation. The slave
ridiculous.
part, I'm not sure. But sensation, Sasha was feeling a lot of sensation.
As was Faith. As was them all.
I tried. I tried.
It's not a complaint necessarily. It's just an observation of every time, because I can never remember what the name of any of these books are. I'm looking on my list. That's the only way I know, because they don't seem to be connected intrinsically to the storyline or the characters. I guess that is my point. As a marketing tool, which is what a title and a cover should be, and we'll talk about the cover next too, then okay, they work. They're giving me something that's, in the vein of what I'm reading, but I don't know the names of any of these things.
I feel like this is something that happens a lot in paranormal romance. I feel like they start a naming convention and then they just keep on the naming convention. Think Cressley Cole's Immortals After Dark series. I can tell you any of those books titles. I can tell you the characters, but
except for Lothair, because that's his name, right?
Right. I can always tell you what Lothair's book is. Yes, absolutely. Yes. When she started naming the books by the heroes' names, yes,
and that's helpful.
But even think J.R. Ward, it was always Love or Something, Dark
that's
Lover,
true.
Eternal Lover, Lover Awakened.
Yeah, and they could be very generic.
Exactly.
Sometimes they were more, consistent or more integrated than others. But yeah, you're right. I guess it's just a thing with paranormal romance, and with long series.
I think the readers always say such and such's books, like Zadis's book, right?
Yeah, whatever that was called, because I have no idea, but I read it.
I read it a lot, but I don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
The 3rd one, I know that.
Right, yeah, number 3. Sometimes you remember the numbers, sometimes not. Like, after, Chrisley Cole, I don't know whose book was what. I'd have to really
Mm.
study that, reading list. Just like with this one, this
Yeah.
series. Okay, cover. Once again, we have a
Mm.
dark-skinned protagonist, the heroine. She has been
Yeah.
described in the previous novel as having dark brown skin, ice blue wolf eyes. Every cover, from every country is a white woman,
Yeah.
and that a woman is depicted on the cover. We had this conversation in the last book episode about whitewashing the cover, so we don't have to
Mhm.
rehash it too much. I just want to bring it to the attention of the universe, and they have not been recovered. They have not been fixed.
Yeah, I wish that there's I think courage could at least be had now with the publishers
Yeah.
to do a rebranding, like in indie publishing, which is where I make my bread and butter. Recovers happen often, especially as times change, as trends change, as you start to grab a new audience. And if you want to grab, there's so many new readers that have been born.
Yes.
So I think again, publishers, this is your opportunity.
And publishers do it too. Like, if you look at, like, a Lisa Kleypas book, how many covers do those books have?
Oh, fair.
They do it a lot. I mean, they can if they choose to. Now, obviously not every book,
Mhm.
but big books, books that sold well, will get new covers every, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. They'll come up with new editions. Yeah, I think it's time for a refresh, a rebrand, and a more accurate covers
And to
because,
bring in new readers.
yeah, it would do a good job of bringing in new readers. And if new readers are finding the series because of its reputation and because of Nalini Singh's reputation, they deserve covers that are not whitewashed
Yeah, yeah. And
and
treat your
rebranded.
author right, because 'cause I'm sure I don't know her, I've never had a conversation with her, but I'm sure she would appreciate it too, since she's doing all this work between the covers.
Yeah, I mean, she is creating an inclusive world that we all love to see. She was doing it before most other people in the genre were doing it,
Mhm.
and she deserves her roses for that. And we're not blaming her for the covers, but yeah, like, as a sign of respect for Ms. Singh, we
And
need new
her
covers
readers.
and her readers. So the actual contents of the of Hostage to Pleasure,
Yes, wait, let's
book
get on to it.
5.
So, it starts with a prologue, which I promptly forgot.
The prologue was a little bit less of a hook, I guess. Sometimes it really gives you an idea of what's to come but it's still I wrote down to love is to be flawed, which came from the prologue. And it gives you the vibe. You're entering this world again. Um, and it gives you a little bit of information, but I don't know how much new we're learning. Like, a lot of times you're getting a lot more backstory and history. Here, it was a little bit of that, but it was short and it was just more vibey to me.
And then it opened up to chapter 1, and it was the most action-packed chapter 1 so far. We come
Yeah.
in
We're in
and
media res, right?
yes, which we love,
We're starting in the
and
middle of things
so we're
for the
starting in the middle of a ambush.
yes.
We know that there's a sniper, that they're about to take down, um, some kind of villain. We don't know who it is. It really gets your blood, and she's not telling you whose point of view it's from yet. I love the artistry in how
Mhm.
she crafted this scene, slowly giving you pieces of what was happening, increasing the tension, and then we see who is about to shoot, and then we see who they're actually about to save. It was really well done.
And because, we find out it's Dorian's POV and Dorian is the sniper, and it's like he actually disassociates. Like, the sniper is a different aspect of his
Mm.
personality, which when we're in the POV, it's the sniper. And then she actually changes it into Dorian. He shook off the sniperness, however she wrote it, which was much better than what I just said.
Oh, I
But
did you're right.
yeah, the sniper growled and became a man named Dorian again, his cold control
Yes!
falling away. That's the quote. And that's just a really cool way to do that. So,
Yeah, I remember reading that, but I was so into it that I didn't make that connection. Yeah, that was some really, really good craftsmanship that she did there. But the whole point, this is a rescue mission because in the last book, we learned that Dorian has made a promise to the woman that has helped to free the children
the
in
last
the
book,
last
yeah.
book. He's made a promise to Ashaya to free her son, Keenan, and Keenan is being moved by Psy because he is the bargaining chip to keep Ashaya in line.
Right, and when he Dorian is the first one to Keenan has been tied up, he's blindfolded, he's in complete sensory deprivation mode, and so Keenan unbinds him, and they bond immediately, basically, and so when
It's
Keenan, who is
accidental.
it's actually well, they bond on an emotional level, and then accidentally, when Keenan is pulled out of the Psy net by Judd, because of the
On
bond with
purpose,
Dorian.
yeah.
Yeah, on purpose. They think he's gonna join Judd's family's network of Psy. He joins Dorian in the Web of Stars with the Dark River Pack. Like, nobody even knew that could happen, and they figure, "Okay, blood bond, that's why." And so, I know in the first book, I wasn't a fan of the whole blood bond reason for the network being formed, for Sasha being pulled into Lucas, but it's being used a lot. So it's very useful, and it's grown on me, I guess, because it
Yeah,
allowed this to happen.
and remember, Dorian lost his sister, and when we meet him in the very first book, he is very broken.
Yes.
He's pushing people away, he's not trying to bond with anybody, he's like, "Sasha, back up." And so when he rescues this kid and he tells this kid, you're good, you're okay. I'm gonna make sure you're safe." That is was like the kid latches on, Dorian latches on, and that bond happens. But then when we get to Ashaya's point of view, she feels her son. It feels like he dies.
Right. When he leaves the sign net, she can't feel him anymore. And I think did her bond, her mother-son bond with him end right then too? Like, yeah, she can't tell if he's alive or dead at that point.
Yeah, yeah, she can't tell. I don't know if her mother son if that went away, but she doesn't. I know that she does not know until she and Dorian come face to face. But
Mhm.
she feels that, and then it's go time for her, and she fakes her own death.
Yeah, this first chapter has a lot happening. We've got the whole action scene at the beginning. We're introduced to Vasek, who is our teleporting Psy Arrow character, who becomes important, as I recall later. And then, yeah, we have Ashaya planning to fake her own death. Um, so yeah, you're dumped in, and I also thought that it was interesting how, like, Ashaya believes she is silent. Well, we're led to believe
We're
in
led
her
to believe she's
first
silent.
chapters that she's silent. She's like, "Oh," it's like she's trying to convince herself. Later on, we find out she knows she hasn't been silent for decades. But,
And the reason is interesting, and we'll get to it.
right. The other thing that's different about this book is that each chapter, just about each chapter, has an epigraph. This is the first time she's used chapter epigraphs, which from in-world texts from in-world texts as the beginning of each chapter.
Oh.
And so that's, used a lot of times by fantasy authors and science fiction authors to expand the world, to give you more backstory, to give you more information that might not be appropriate in the chapter. And so Nalini Singh does that really well. This first chapter, we have an epigraph from a character named Ileana, who we don't know who it is at first, but it's from a letter that was written, and it's about being silent. Your heart is ice, your mind a flawless prism. So we're getting little drips of additional information about Ashaya's backstory, about Dorian's backstory and state of mind at various points that we don't necessarily get inside the actual content.
I like again with the craft. I really like what she's doing. I started peeping her doing this in Clay's book where she starts to ask these questions and she doesn't give you all the answers immediately. And she's doing that. She did that in when in Judd's rescue, excuse me. She did that in Dorian's rescue. And then she does that with Eliana, and you don't know who she is. And then she's gonna
Mhm.
do it again with Amara, and you don't know who she
Right.
is. I really love how she's doing and how she makes a mystery of who the players are and whose sides there are. So it's just like she's keeping the reader on their toes as you're figuring out how all of these bonds are about to come together.
And also, when she's introducing, there's additional villains that pop up in this
Mhm.
book that we get perspectives of, and at first we're not sure who they are. There's, some Psy villains and some human villains, and then the ongoing saga of Caleb Krychek and the council, and there's lots of questions that are being answered, lots of doors opened that you don't even get to peek into. You hear the door opening, and it's like a sliver, and it's going to be books and books of unraveling these mysteries. So you just
I
want to keep reading.
I want to see her series Bible. I know she says she's a pantser, but she has to have a series Bible or something, notes scribbled on a napkin to keep all of this in order. And I would love to see how she does this because okay, and we're kind of going out of order because we're just so excited. Okay, but so Ashaya, after she feels her son like go away, she
Mhm.
fakes her death, and she fakes her death by stopping her brain with tick poison.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like well, not a lot, but there's some sciencey stuff in here that is very cool, I thought. And she's an M-Psy, so she's a medical psi. That's her ability, and her natural ability is to actually be able to see DNA and understand DNA, which is a fantastic ability as it turns out. But yeah, just showing like the competence porn is kind of there too. Like she has this masterful plan about how she's going to fake her own death, and in order to to appear actually dead, her brain has to die, but she can't actually be dead, and it's complicated, but it works
Mhm.
out, and we really respect her and the big risk that she took.
And in this where she and when she fakes her death, she knows she has a 10-hour time frame to appear dead, and she has allies. And we
Mhm.
knew she had allies from the last book. We knew she had a little bit of help, but we didn't know really the extent. But yeah, she has her allies helping her out, and one of them is Vasek.
Mhm.
We don't really understand why he's doing what he's doing or if we can really trust him. But he comes in and he teleports her to Link's territory. Linx?
Ly.
What
The animal
Ly?
links.
The
Mhm.
animal Links, which is on the edge of Dark River territory, but it's not exactly their territory. It's these actual animals, not shifters,
I
actual
think it's
animals.
I think it's inside of Dark River territory, but it's just a place where these links, these yeah, mundane links, I guess, congregate. Like not changelings. Um, so yeah, she's attacked, and because when Dorian, we're in his perspective, he finds out, he's like, oh, he gives us the exposition about this is a place that we know that these links are, and it's dangerous to go, so nobody goes there.
So, but he goes there. He comes to her rescue. And again, I love it when a chapter kind of ends. One of the ways that I like to think about chapter endings are to think of them as like punctuation points.
Mm,
So you don't want to end on a period because that's just kind of finality. You want to be sparing on how you end with like an exclamation point, like literally something goes bang. Or another way is to do like a dash where if there's an interruption or ellipsis and it's like
yeah.
dun dun dun. So she is important. This is me. I like to categorize things, and this is me categorizing. But what she does is she ends this chapter with Ashaya facing off these links like, what am I gonna do? Dun dun dun, and then in
Yes.
comes Dorian.
Yeah. No, and a lot of times she will have the dash, like, you're literally I think I wrote something down later on she does this, and I made a note of it because it was in a very jarring place, but just in the middle of the scene, okay, new chapter, you have to keep turning the page. That's one way to do the hook, and yeah, there's multiple ways, and she uses them all, and it just it keeps you reading, so it is a very good technique.
Yes, very good technique. So one of the other things, I can't remember exactly where this happens in the book, but it comes up about children,
Like how
and
changelings view children?
how Psy view children, not
Oh.
changelings. And I think it happens after Dorian rescues her because she finds out that Keenan is okay. Her son is Keenan. She finds out that Keenan is okay, but she will not go and see him. And it
Mhm.
perplexes the changelings. But
It makes them mad. It makes Dorian actually angry, like, he's thinking she's so cold, she won't see her own son who needs her. Yeah.
so um she won't, but at some point in here, it's mentioned that children are their art. That
Or
they
the
are
Psy art.
sorry, children are size yes, oh my goodness. Children are size art because they are the legacy that they leave behind. Um,
And they don't create other art.
they
They're because
don't
of
create
silence,
anything
they
else.
don't paint, they don't write. Yeah.
They don't sing because they're toneless.
Yeah.
So the way that they mix their genes, that
Mm.
becomes their legacy. And we also learn that the reason that Ashaya is a hostage is not just because they took her and or because she's the only person they feel that can work on Protocol One, which is
Mhm.
making the hive mind. But they took her They took her son,
Mhm.
and they also tied her tubes.
Right. Yeah, you're skipping way ahead. But as a
I
way
think it's
to
mentioned there.
is it?
Yeah, that they tied her tubes and they threatened her reproductive abilities.
So, yeah, aside from because a real Psy wouldn't necessarily care that much about this one child. They wouldn't have the motherly love and instincts for this child. But if they stopped their ability to reproduce, yeah, that is it's pretty disturbing. But
Yeah,
also the thing you said about the genetic mixing being part of the art, like that gives a whole new reason, a whole new energy to the diversity of it all. Like I like diversity personally just because I like seeing people who look like me and my friends and other
mhm,
people that I know on the page. But as like a theme of, like a minor theme in the series, it's not just, okay, it's diverse because the world is diverse. It's also diverse because that is an art form that is mixing up cultures and races and having
mhm.
people who are multiracial and multicultural is just a way to create art. I mean, I think that's a really cool way to think about
Yeah,
it as well.
yeah, I think that I agree. Okay, so
Oh, we didn't
so
talk about the meet cute. I wanna talk about this meet cute when they first meet because we haven't had a really good meet cute in the series since Vaughn and Faith. Like, Clay and Tally, they already knew each other. Brenna and Judd already knew each other. We didn't see them meet on the page. I love seeing people meet on the page. I always feel a little bit cheated, like, second chance romances, not my favorite thing because I like to see them meet on the page, and I loved this meet cute that he's a little bit bitter and she's a little bit snarky and he's saving her. But at first he's like, let me just see what she can do. He doesn't save her immediately. She's up the tree hiding from the lynx and he just kind of sees what's happening first. And then, of course, he saves her. He's not going to put her in actual danger. He does have this huge chip on his shoulder about Psy in general because his sister was murdered by a Psy. And that's a huge point of conflict between the two of them. But yeah, I liked that meet cute. Also, the initial romantic conflict that he's initially attracted to her. I mean, okay, technically they met in the last book,
I
obviously.
didn't
I
wanna
know.
spoil it.
You're right. You're right. Okay. But they had a little conversation. This is still counts to me as a meet because
Okay.
they had like a two-sentence conversation and he was like he had a gun pointed on her. But this is still a meet cute in my mind
Mhm,
because it's like
I agree.
a longer situation. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, they did have that other meet cute, and he's been thinking about her and attracted to her ever since and upset with himself over it. And she has too, which is was in the epigraphs. Like she started to talk about how she couldn't stop thinking about him.
And dreams. There's more dream I don't think there's dream
Really in her
sex in this, but there's
no.
dream interactions
Yeah.
between these people, which is just a recurring theme where, yeah, she's literally been dreaming about him, and I think he was dreaming about her or at
Mhm.
least obsessed with her, so, yeah.
So, but you know me, I love the fun and games. Leslie likes the meet cute. I love the fun and games, the falling in love moments. And my favorite was when he gets her back to the safe house, and she has an organizer, and they're trying
Mhm.
to crack the organizer. They're trying to crack the passcode, and they're flirting over trying to crack this piece of technology. And she sees, oh, he likes technology. This is kind of interesting. And yeah, I
And
love
he's
that they're flirting
actually
over it.
he's good at it. Like, she's surprised that he knows how to use it better than she does because she was been using this old tech so that she could keep it private and encrypted and keep her secrets safe. But, her allies had given her this new piece of tech when she, faked her death. And yeah, Dorian knows all the apps, and she's like, "Whoa." And that's, like, very relatable. Like, if you're a tech person, if you're, like, a super smart person,
Right.
whatever I guess the competence pouring back again. Like, if you see someone does something really well, and even if it's something you can't do really well, especially if it is, but even if it's something you do a little bit, I don't know, it is nice to see it's very attractive that someone has
Mhm.
skills in things that are
So, it's
useful.
like, they're on a date when he rescues her from the lynx, and he runs with her through the forest. Then they're on a date when they get back to the little, at first she did hurt herself. The lynx hurt her, and she has to get fixed up, and that's when she's like, "I don't wanna see my kid." And then they flirt over the cracking of the code. But then, around here, we start to see that, the person we know that there's another person, Amara, and that Amara can see some of this. She can sense some of this stuff, and we
She's
don't really.
connected to Ashaya.
And this is when we learn. And Ashaya is trying to keep her out of her head.
Mhm.
Ashaya is also trying. Ashaya is all. She's also faked her death. So she's also trying to keep she's still connected to the net. So she's trying to keep a low profile. So she's hiding not just from the Cynet, she's hiding from this Amara, who we
Mhm.
soon learn is her dun 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 her twin
Her
because it's
evil
a soap
twin.
opera. Of course, evil twin of
Evil
a
twin,
soap opera.
right?
Yes.
So there was a point in this chapter when she's getting stitched up that I found really confusing. I had to go
Mhm.
back and read it twice because Vaughn orders her. So Mercy, who is a Dark River Sentinel, is there and stitching her up, right? And Vaughn orders Ashaya to go under because Side can make themselves unconscious. And at first, Ashaya is like, "I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be at these people's mercy." And so then Vaughn and Mercy have this whole conversation, and I thought that Ashaya was secretly awake for it all because I thought she had refused to put herself under. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't remember this.
And they're talking about Anthony Kriakis. I mean, they're giving like secrets, and I'm like, oh, Ashaya is hearing all of this. She's gonna know all of this stuff. But apparently, she was really under. Like, so after she said she wasn't going to put herself under and not be at these people's
Oh,
mercy, she did anyway. I was very confused by it. So that's why at first I was like, okay, she knows all this stuff. And then I went back and reread it. And it's still unclear how it worked, but it seems like she did not know any of that. So she really
totally went
was
over my head.
unconscious. Okay. That was just a detail that kind of changed the meaning of some things for me. Because,
Okay.
like, if we go through the rest of it and she knows some of these Dark River secrets, I thought that was going to come into play, but it did not.
Mhm. But back to her twin, who her twin who broke silence, and she is cray cray,
Very, very crazy.
very crazy, and Amara imitates emotions, and she thinks that's kind
Mm.
of funny.
Oh,
Um,
because she's when she's captured by Ming Laban?
yes, when she's captured by Ming, who is one of the council, one of the main ones who's trying to push Protocol One, since he can't find Ashaya, he goes for her twin, thinking
To
that
finish.
she will
Mhm.
help. And he got the wrong one.
I mean, I think they all know that Amara is crazy, and I guess they kept her alive because she's useful. It seems like she's the perfect person to be rehabilitated, so it was a little convenient that she had never been rehabilitated, and she had actually never been silent. I think she was too mentally ill to be silent. I didn't understand exactly what was happening,
Yeah,
but
because remember, they if you're valuable, they will protect you, and
that's
she's
true.
valuable.
That's true. And I guess they needed her mind intact for whatever sciencey things she was doing.
Mhm. So, what happens after Ashaya, gets all patched up and she's ready, she has to do something, because she has to stop Protocol 1. So what she just has decided to do is she's decided to broadcast not only about Protocol 1, which is them making a hive mind, she also decides to broadcast about something called the Omega virus.
Yeah, and so because the leopards and the wolves own a media outlet, so
As
they
one does.
conveniently they own whatever is needed, which is lovely. They have
Right.
sciencey things, they have satellites, they have media, they have television stations, and so she basically does a television broadcast, spilling side secrets. And I loved the sort of montage,
Yes,
the
I wrote the
written
same thing, Leslie.
it's like a written montage where, okay, she's starts talking, she starts spilling secrets. The side council's like, gotta shut it down. They start shutting down power. They're shutting down satellites. And then hackers are coming and try to keep it up. And then other people are like, okay, we got these extra satellites online. And it was all written, but you could see it visually as like a movie montage. And it was great.
What's a montage?
Montage is just those quick cut scenes where you're showing different things from different perspectives. It is literally, it's like a stew, a stew of
A
visuals.
stew of visuals. Yeah, it's a stew all around tied around a central theme or a central purpose, and the purpose is to get this information out and to see the impact. I thought it was brilliant writing. It's like, did you read scripts, Nalini saying? Because this is what we are taught to do in screenwriting. I absolutely loved this
And it's
scene.
hard to do in prose. It's hard to do
Mhm.
in a book to make, this kind of visual, it's especially with quick cuts. It felt like it was quick cuts. It felt like I was looking at it. Yeah,
She did a
nice
great
work.
job. What I really appreciate about this book too, and what I appreciate about how Nalini Singh, you can see she loves thrillers. She loves suspense. She
Mhm,
loves thrillers. And one of the hallmarks, I believe, of a suspense and a thriller is that there's always a bigger bad. So
mhm,
we think that Ashaya is running from the council,
right.
and in a sense, she is. But the bigger bad is her sister. That's who she's really scared of.
That is true. Yeah, because the council will probably just want her. They'll either kill her or they'll, make her a hostage again to continue this program. But her sister can get into her mind, and her sister has some nefarious scheme for Keenan, for her son, that
Mhm.
she knows about. That's the real end game. That like her whole life, she's perfectly fine dying if her son is safe, but she knows that Amara wants to do something bad to
Yeah.
Keenan.
Yeah. So the race is on for Ashaya to keep up her shields and not let Amara in, not let Amara know where she is, not let Amara know where Keenan is, and that
Hmm.
Keenan is still alive because Keenan is out of the net now. But,
Right.
But Ashaya is still linked in, and Amara is still linked in. Um, so she's on a race for that. The problem is these feeling things that she keeps having, for one, said Dorian.
Yeah, the feelings, whenever she's breaking silence, it allows Amara in closer into her mind. So just like with other books, she feels like she has to stay silent, but we have a new reason. And I think it's interesting to keep sort of changing it, giving us the same thing but different, giving us different reasons why this side character cannot feel the emotion and has to stay silent. She's protecting her mind and her son. It's lovely.
It is.
And Dorian, the whole Dorian Ashaya, the beginning, then in the first half, the conflict is understandable. He doesn't want to be attracted to Asai because Asai murdered his sister. And so you get that. But then it's battled, he's battling himself because the attraction is so strong
Mhm.
and it's like almost violent. And we know changelings kind of have to have touch and have to have these sensations for their, or else they might go crazy. There's like these terrible consequences if they don't have this touch. But Dorian seems like he's taken it to the next level. Like we've seen Vaughn fight with this, we've seen Clay fight with this. With Dorian, it's described in much more like almost violent terms. Did you
Hmm.
find that?
I didn't. I thought he was just a big dummy because he was like, "Oh, these feelings must be lust. Let me just sleep with her and then I'll get it out of my system."
There is that. There is that. But at the beginning, and even Lucas comes in, the alpha comes in and warns him. Sort of it's like a warning him, like, you can't just take her. It seems like it's a
Mhm.
warning against him, like forcing her. It's like, oh, I'd never force her. But also he's warning himself not to force her. Like it's a lot of talk about being forced. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, I'm feeling some kind of way about that.
Yeah, I totally hear you and I totally did read that, but I was just like, "You're just stupid." Stupid guy.
That's like your brain just overing it. Just like, okay, we're not dealing with that. We're just, giving it a different tinge in our minds, which is valid.
So Dorian is fighting his feelings, but sometimes, he lets it slip. And at a point where he and Ashaya kiss, he senses Amara.
Yes, because the emotion has allowed the sister closer. He feels just like Vaughn felt this other presence with Faith
Faith.
when the evil was, tracking her. Somehow they can feel someone else in this person's mind, which is
Hmm.
really interesting. Yeah,
And what stops the kissy poo at that point and the attraction at that point is Ashaya confesses that she has protected a psychopath her entire life. She doesn't say who, but that's
right.
enough for Dorian to back up.
And she does it on purpose, knowing because by this time she knows about his sister, and she knows that's gonna like cut him off at the
Yeah.
knees.
I also want to mention that with Ashaya being an M-Psy, Nalini Singh puts a loaded gun early on in the book saying that she can read DNA like on a really deep, like beyond microscope
Microscopic.
level, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she asked Dorian for a sample of his blood. And it's a total loaded gun because that gun is going to go off at some point. So I'm just noting that she did this early on in the book.
Because Dorian is latent. He can't shift. He can't transform into his leopard. So we've had the Faith in a previous book had a vision of him as a leopard. I think anytime you meet a latent shifter in a shifter book, at some point they're going to have to become a shifter. Like
Yes.
that just seems to be the trope. It would be interesting. Like, is that ableist? Is that whole
Mm.
notion? I mean, to some degree, yeah. I wonder.
I think she handled it well in the I think she because y'all know y'all getting spoilers because either you read the book or you didn't. But I think Singh handles it well because it's not when Ashaya thinks she's solved it, it's not an immediate
Mhm.
shift,
Right. It
which
takes
is
a few
heartbreaking.
months. Yeah. Yeah, and at a certain point, I was like, "I know he's going to, but maybe she didn't. Maybe he's okay." Like, he'd built up all these skills. He became a sniper and an architect and a pilot. Like, they list all these things he did to make up for the fact that he could not shift like everyone else. But inside, his leopard is stuck, and it's actually hurting him. It's causing him harm. And we get the idea that if it never happens, maybe something bad could happen to him. Like, the leopard is clawing inside of him, causing him physical pain because he can't change forms. So
Yeah. So one of the things that we also learned during this time is this is when we learn we've learned of Amara, but then now we learned who Ileana was, and Ileana was their mother.
mhm.
She was a rebel, and she was killed by the council for her rebellious nature against the Signet.
Yeah. We don't get a lot about her. We don't really get any flashbacks. But the thing that we do get is that at some point, Ileana made Ashaya promise to take care and protect her sister, protect her evil twin who's done terrible things to her. And so Ashaya, throughout the book, she's like, she's my responsibility. I was born first. I'm the older sister. I have to take care of my twin. I promised my mother. And to a point that's like beyond reason a little bit, but it underscores the theme that we've been talking about of these books about family, about, connectedness, about not leaving people behind. Ashai is doing that to the point where leaving Amara alive threatens everything, threatens her. At a certain point, it threatens her son, but she knows she can't be the one to kill her sister, to end her sister. And like, it's good that Amara hasn't actually ever killed anyone. We know she's off her meds if she was ever on any meds, and
She
she
is
has.
optimist, but there's a vision that she will. Faith has a vision.
Right. Right. And Amara's going down that path because she is a true sociopath. She has no emotions. She has no conscience, which makes her a great scientist, but
Makes
not a
her a
great
great
person.
spy.
And a great sigh, yes. Even though she's not silent. She has no emotions. So she should be silent, but she's not because she's just Batso.
At this point, though, Ashaya does go and visit Keenan, but it's during an emergency. She gets a sense. So I guess her mother-son instinct wasn't gone because she gets a sense
Right.
that Keenan is in danger. He's in trouble. And she rushes to Keenan's with Tamsin. She rushes to him, and he looks like he's comatose because he's gone so deep inside of his mind because he missed her and he knew that if he did that, she would come.
Mhm. And it's really great that, Dorian's been battling his feelings for her, been thinking, okay, she's just a cold side. She won't see her son. But witnessing her maternal instincts, everything changes for Dorian. His whole situation, his whole outlook on life seems to change because he realizes he's been a jerk and she really is not what she seems. And she obviously loves her son. She's obviously not silent.
Yeah. So after the mom son, excuse me, after mom son reunion, then here come the baby daddy.
Baby data drama.
So the baby daddy we're led to understand is this elderly gentleman who's a Psy named Ziazen, and I just love saying the name Ziazen. That's just the coolest thing.
Right?
But he's a baby daddy. He's older. He has excellent. He has more kids than Nick Cannon
Do we
because
know
his
how many
genes
kids he
are
has?
excellent. He has a lot. I don't think they ever said a number, but his genes are very. I remember her saying his genes were very popular, and he had a lot of kids.
Which made him the perfect sort of, I don't know if it's a patsy, but the perfect person to be Keenan's father, because we learn later he's not technically the biological father, but he is playing the role to protect Amara and Keenan to a certain degree.
Mhm.
But when so they meet Zizen in this warehouse because he has a message for Ashaya for some reason. And Dorian finds out that that's her baby daddy and gets jealous, even of this old man. And they know that there was no sex involved because mostly Psy use, external, in vitro, probably some kind
Still,
of futuristic in vitro.
I
But
still
he's
got
still
Daddy King vibes.
really,
I
please
really did because
explain.
this man was older, his total age gap. He was older, she was younger, and at some point she kind of defies him, and he basically pulls rank and gets dominant, and you can see her go submissive. I think we were in Dorian's
Yes.
perspective when we saw when this was going on, and he sees it too, and he's that's when I felt like his hackles really went up, when he was like, "What is happening here? She's clearly into this guy." That's how I read it.
Okay, I read it a completely different way. So, I read it, same thing that, Zia Zen says something, she's going against him, then she backs down. And Dorian is like, "Oh, wait, that's not a romantic vibe. That's like a daddy vibe, but not like a sex daddy vibe, like a."
Mm.
I thought for a moment that Zia Zen was actually her biological father. Like, she was actually relating to him as a actual daughter does a father, and Dorian backed up because he was like, "Oh, that's a different relationship. I haven't seen her show that anyone that level of respect and deference before." That's how I read
Everybody
it.
read it and then let us know your take.
Let us
Was
know
it
in the comments on YouTube what your perspective on that relationship was.
Mhm.
Are you team Inez or team Leslie?
Yeah. Are you team daddy kink or team, "Hi, daddy?" And you should know, like, daddy kink is not my thing at all, even slightly. It really
No.
ekes me out, but that's the vibe I got. And
That's the vibe you were looking for
I
some
was
reason.
not looking for that at all, but that was what was on the page. Okay. And then here we come with another chase scene. And Nalini does good chase. So we learn the sire on their trail as they're trying, or as her and Dorian are trying to get back. And this is when we I don't know if we learn it now, but we definitely start to learn the extent that Ashaya no, we did learn it before. Ashaya has severe claustrophobia.
Right, because her sister buried her
Oh
alive.
god.
Like, why is she protecting this woman? I mean, I get it. It's her sister, you can't
And they're
choose who you're
twins.
related to, and they're twins, and they're very connected, and they say at one point that among Psy, if one twin dies, usually the other one dies because 'cause they're so mentally and psychically connected. Still, your sister buried you alive.
Yeah.
I feel like she needs to be there needs to be some sort of distance there.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, her and Dorian have to go, well, they almost have to go down into these tunnels, but he sees how freaked out she is and he figures out another way around. But this is when we learn about her being buried alive and that's when she broke silence. 14 years ago, when she was 14, no, when she was
When she
14,
Yeah,
she broke silence because of that.
right.
They were at, it was 14 and I think they finish at 16.
At 16, right.
And so it broke for
Yeah.
her and she's been faking it ever since.
Like, her mom knew and was like, "You have to fake this. This is the only way that you're going to survive." So, she became very, very good at faking it. We'd see her able to put on that armor and pretend, and nobody, not even Ming Laban, who's supposed to be, really amazing psychically, could tell. He was a little suspicious of her behavior, but she has successfully pretended to be silent all this time.
And she's not. um so we see, so as she and Dorian are escaping this latest threat and he learns this about her as they're heading back to Dark River territory, we see a Psy running in the street and this girl is, she's been
Covered in
stabbed,
covered in blood, yeah, she's been
covered in
stabbed,
blood.
and she dies shortly after that.
Yeah. We and Nalini takes a minute to show us the degradation of the Signet and what's happening. So
Mm.
we protocol 1 is set up to us. It's like, this is awful. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. But I feel like Nalini Singh is also showing us like y'all don't really y'all saw Sasha break out, y'all saw Faith break out, but you don't really understand what's happening in the Signet. And she gives a minute to start to show the cracks in the Signet and what it's doing to people.
Yeah, because apparently the Psy family, the father, it was a whole murder-suicide situation with everybody in the family, and it's this bloodbath that Dorian walks into, and, he's already starting to have more compassion for the Psy because of Ashaya, and I think here, he finds himself being very compassionate because he's carrying this girl who basically died in his arms, and he's in danger because he knows Psy are going to come and clean the scene up shortly.
And they
Fortunately,
do.
they do, but fortunately, Vasek, our teleporter arrow, comes and warns him off and gets him to leave before everyone else comes. But yeah, we're seeing that the dark mind apparently that twin of the net mind. We have this
Mhm.
twin theme coming through that is all of the darkness that they've siloed off because of silence is turning some side crazy, even though the silence is supposed to protect them from that. So that's just being threaded through. all of these books, I think it's probably going to get more and more prominent as we go through the series.
And you see when Vasek, because Vasek is sent in as a cleanup crew,
Yeah.
and Vaughn is like, "What, Vaughn?" Dorian's like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you letting this happen?" And you see Vasek, all these names. You see Vasek kind of break, and he's like, "I'm tired. I'm
Yeah.
tired of this." I That's what I really felt like that scene was doing. It wasn't just for Dorian to kind of give
Right.
him an emotional breakdown. It was also for us to see, because we haven't had like two Psy um
Mm,
anything like that. We've only seen run away from the Psy. And now we're sitting in this house with them through this carnage, and we're seeing the threads of the rebellion and the people who are trying to do something, but they also have to, it's like they're being abused and then they have to go home to their abuser.
yeah. And I mean, here, we've met Vasek, already interested, already waiting for his book, where, at this point, because of these glimpses that you're getting of him. That's how the first time through, I was like, ooh, when is this book coming? Because I just want to know more. He seems
Yeah.
very silent. It's like another Judd. He's an arrow. I love
Mhm.
the arrows, even though they're, awful, but like the rebel arrows are kind of like the most interesting characters. And just creating, because we see Vasek, he's always popping in and out. Like he's doing a lot, but he's got this super powerful telekinetic
Yeah.
ability. Not what's it called? Teleportation ability.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like a true teleporter, which most of them aren't. And seeing how rebels are created. Like imagine this man's life as an arrow, cleaning up all this
Mhm.
stuff, doing all this dirt,
Yeah.
probably killing people that he didn't want to kill. Yeah, of course he's going to be, if he has any conscience at all, he'll be a rebel.
Yeah. Around this time is when Faith tells us her new prediction. She's seeing that the net mind is controlling
The
the
dark mind.
darkness. Yeah, the dark mind is controlling the darkness inside, and
In all sci. I
that
thought we knew
if
that before.
yeah, we did know it before, but she's taken a moment to explain it.
And she talks about Amara specifically and about Dorian. So
Yeah.
she says, I think she tells us that the dark mind has Amara, or that Amara is about to from here up until now, she's been like your friendly neighborhood sociopath, but she's going to make a turn and start murdering people. And also Dorian, something bad's going to happen to
Either
Dorian.
he's gonna shift or he's gonna die, is what I wrote down.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
also, we're starting around here, we're getting this mysterious group of bad guys in Venice and in San Francisco. And we're getting a few short chapters from their perspective. Like they want Ashaya also. So we have more players on the stage. The council is after her, her sister's after her. These mysterious bad guys are after her too.
and
So,
Dorian's after her too.
well, Dorian doesn't want to kill her. These people want to kill her. Or I guess her sister does not want to kill her. The sister wants to kill Dorian. But it's just more stakes being raised.
That's interesting though, because the council and the Venice group, they want to use her.
Hmm.
Dorian and Amara want her full attention on them.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
she's being pulled in so many different directions, and all she wants is to keep her son safe. That's it.
There's some book or there's some theory in writing about how the antagonist and the protagonist have the same goal. And
Mhm.
so if you think about Dorian and Amara as antagonists, because they both want all of Ashaya's love and attention,
Mhm.
they're after the same goal. Um, that just popped into my head as being kind of interesting because
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they're looking for. Where other
Mhm.
people want to kill her, they want everything else from her.
Mhm. There were so many parallels. That's really interesting because there were so many parallels with Dorian and his dearly departed sister Kylie,
Kylie, right?
and Amara and Ashaya. Um, Both Dorian and Ashaya feel guilt over their sisters. They both
Mm.
felt the need to protect them.
They're both older siblings.
Oh yeah, too. Yeah, they both felt shame over Dorian feels shame that he didn't save his sister,
Hmm.
and Shea feels shame that she is pulling away from her sister.
Mm.
I felt like there was also a rage at Dorian's raging at what was done to his sister, and
Mhm.
Ashaya is raging at what was done to her by her sister.
Yeah.
There's this brokenness too. So there's so many comparisons that these 2 have in terms of their sisters.
And
But
at one point, Amara uses that. She's like, "It's my baby sister," and Dorian is like, "Oh, I know what it's like to have a baby sister,
yeah,
even though I don't want Amara anywhere near her. I understand that basically he couldn't kill Amara either because that would destroy Ashaya."
yeah,
And invoking his sister was a way to really make it clear, where I don't think it was before, to Dorian's mind, like how
yeah,
serious this is.
yeah. So we learn that sex strengthens her shields. Yay, booty call.
Because she's afraid. She's afraid of because Amara can literally see inside her mind. But when she
Mhm,
is intimate in any way with Dorian, something is protecting her mind and keeping
mhm,
Amara out, and that allows them to actually move into sexy times.
mhm.
And I think that this was actually my favorite sex scene in the series so
Oh,
far.
yeah?
Yeah, like, because I didn't love the interactions between Dorian and Ashai early on, but then once that midpoint hits, once he stops being a jerk, stops being an alpha hole, and realizes that she is worthy of respect, and also that then he realizes eventually that she's his mate,
Mhm.
he stops being so mean. I don't like it when they're mean.
Aw.
And we see it move forward. And I think that this was the hottest sex scene that she's written in the series so
Oh,
far. And it
wow.
really it moved the relationship forward so much. It just did a lot of work. And
Wow.
yeah, it goes on my list of favorites up until this
That's
point.
high praise, Miss Singh. So this is also when we learn that Amara is Keenan's biological mother,
hmm
but Amara saw Keenan as a science experiment, not her baby boy.
And she embedded him with this virus, this omega
Mhm,
virus, which, we learned that was supposed to make the Psy infertile, like as a means of control. But of course, it wouldn't just be the Psy. Like, so we've talked about their children, their legacy, it's their art.
yeah.
A way of controlling them is making them infertile. That had been done to Ashaya. Her tubes were tied against her consent, like without her consent. And so, yeah, that whole idea that fertility, family, connection, all of these themes are coming back into play. And so, yeah, Amara created Keenan, and he doesn't actually have a father. Like, the sperm was some amalgamation of DNA so that no one could have ownership over him but her, ownership over her science experiment.
And she wants
That
to finish off this science experiment. That's why
by
she wants
killing
it.
him. Killing
Yeah,
him is the way to do that so that she can study his brain and see what was happening. Like, she wants to dissect this little boy,
yeah. And Keenan knows. He knows that he has a mother and that he has,
a
a
mommy.
mommy.
Mhm. And he's afraid. Like, he distinguishes that. To him, it's very clear that his mother is not someone he wants to deal with, but his
Mhm.
mommy protects him and loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Dorian is like, "This is my family now," and he wants to tear the silence down from around Ashaya. He wants her to get out.
And part of it is also, like, he needs the whole changeling thing about needing the touch,
Mhm.
and needing her to drop silence, but understanding that that's going to put Keenan, who he already loves, at risk, and put Ashaya at risk also.
But Dorian doesn't just want Ashaya to come out of silence. He wants it gone. He wants
Oh,
it
right.
gone, period. And Ashaya thinks that people should have a choice because some people really need the silence and some people don't, and that there
Mhm.
should be right now they have no choice. And
Yeah.
Protocol 1 will give them even less of a choice. So she wants there to be a choice. And I felt like the dark moment of this book, because I think we're beyond that, we're past the midpoint. Um, I feel like the dark moment is him admitting that she's a traitor. Excuse me, him admitting his love for her is kind of him being a traitor to his
To his
sister's
sister.
memory. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also a part where, they've had sex, they've kind of agreed that they're into each other, but there's a darkness within him that's threatening their bond. And
Yeah.
that darkness is
Yeah.
part of that guilt and that shame about, having a mate who is a Psy, who are these people that he hated. And even though, Sasha and Faith are cool, um, the fact that he is in love with a Psy
Yeah.
is causing something dark within him, and that goes back to Faith's vision of him, something bad happening to him. Is that and Ashaya realizes this. Like she knows that she is the reason the darkness in him is growing because he was getting a little bit better,
Yeah.
and then he met her and it gets worse.
And she still has this darkness attached to her. It's still like the whole twin thing, like the good twin, bad twin. And
Mhm.
Ashaya knows that if she leaves, if she's been hiding out. Everybody's looking for her, but she's still linked up to the net and she's hiding out in the net some kind of way. And Wavium is not explained.
Well, net mind. I think we know that the net mind is probably protecting her. I think they talk about that at the very end. Yeah. But yeah,
There's a
not
Scooby Doo that
exactly.
happens at the end. We're almost there. But in the meantime, Ashaya knows that if she leaves the net, because when they leave the net, it's like a death. They go kicking and screaming. Um, and remember, it's the idea is introduced that if one twin dies, the other one can follow.
Mhm.
So if Ashaya leaves the net and dies, and she no longer has a connection to her twin, Mara's gone too.
Right. And that's another reason why Ashai doesn't want to leave and doesn't. Because she still needs to protect her twin. Throughout the whole thing, she needs to protect her twin. And it's a good conflict because as a reader, you're not sure how this is gonna work out. Because Amara is deadly and she's dangerous to Keenan and everyone else, but you see this link and if someone else, even not Dorian, if another pack member takes Amara out, Ashaya is still going to be impacted and harmed. So it's a great conflict because you really don't know how it's going to work out.
Luckily, they capture Amara.
Yeah, and it wasn't that difficult. Like Amara finds Ashaya. She's not really trying to hide. She's off in her own world. She's just like she can track her sister mentally. So she just walks up to them and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna tie you up now."
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. She
But
gets
she
cut up.
plays these mind games with Sasha comes to try to talk to her, and Sasha has to leave. Like Amara, it's like a Hannibal Lecter situation where Sasha goes and Amara is. They untie her at some point because she's not a physical threat. She doesn't have a way to actually attack anyone, but she uses her words as weapons, and Sasha cannot handle it as a empath, as an
Yeah,
E-Psy. She has to actually
yeah.
leave the premises.
But eventually, the link is cut to the net. When Dorian takes a bullet for Shia, she's going to do another broadcast, and the Psy infiltrate the broadcast, and
It's a
they
bullet meant for Ashaya that
there's a
Dorian
bullet meant
steps
for Shia.
in front of, and it hits his carotid, so he bleeds out fast, you
Yes,
know?
she's an M-Psy. She tries to save him. She basically links with him. Did we miss, Leslie? Did we miss where Ashaya drops out of the net and she links with Dorian? When does
No,
that happen?
that's here.
That okay,
So,
that's where we are. Okay.
yeah, because she's an M-Psy, but she can't heal. She
Right.
only sees DNA. She's not useful anyway
Right.
in this emergency situation. So
So she cuts the link.
she's putting pressure on the wound and she's feeding him energy. And I think that during that process,
She cuts the link.
yeah, I don't know if it's even like the link is cut because she's feeding him so much energy. She accepts the mating bond because she knows that's the only way to keep him alive. She's feeding him energy. She cuts the link and she reaches out and grabs her sister, like mentally, psychically, and brings her into the web of stars because that's the only way her sister can survive. And I don't know if cutting the link is actually conscious. I think because it's a way to save Dorian's life.
Mhm.
Like she can't do both. So she instinctively accepts the mating bond. And I think at that point, the link to the signet is cut as well.
But then here's Nalini Singh is a smart woman. She's an amazing storyteller, but she's a smart woman because she made us think, how is this going to work? She
Right.
can't. These twins can't be separated. She won't kill her twin. She wants to link with Dorian. So Ashaya reaches out, grabs Amara, and Amara saves because it's Ashaya is now dying.
Yes.
And Amara saves Ashaya so
Mhm.
that Ashaya can continue to save
They Right.
Dorian. And
Yeah.
then the found family then come and push their energy into Sasha it's beautiful.
Right. It is. It really is. It's like we see the twins helping each other, then we find out that all of the other that Faith and Sasha and Lucas are able to push their energy into Dorian. They push it into Dorian to save Ashaya and then also saving Amara. Like it links back and it's
They did
all the
such a good
family and
job.
and then they're all unconscious and go to the hospital. All three of them.
Exactly. Yes. But then, so everybody's happy and whole.
But the book's
And
not over,
I
and we have, like,
know! Oh, it's
15%
the
left or
worst.
something.
That is the worst, and I know you readers feel us when you see, "Oh, look, everyone's happy. Holy
Right?
crap, we're only at 80%."
Yeah. And I was
And
like,
I'm like,
"What?
"No, I
What
will
is
put the book
happening?"
down, no." Like, that's the worst thing that you could have done, like, what else are you gonna do to me? I seriously have abandoned books that have been at, like, the 80% mark, and you're like, "I can't,
I'm
I."
scared of what's gonna happen next if I have this much book left. Absolutely. That happens all the time. So I was here reading thinking like, "Oh, okay, there's definitely threads left."
So here we are at that 80% mark, and there's still more plot to be had because we don't really understand what was going on with how Ashaya evaded the council while she was still in the Signet. Um, and Faith and Sasha, in my opinion, had a speech in the praise of the villain moment here, where
Well,
or
tell us what that is.
think of it as like the Scooby-Doo moment. So whenever there's a Scooby-Doo mystery, right? They don't know who the villain are, and they're going around, they're looking at all the clues, and then you have like normally Daphne and Velma explain how the villain did the whole thing. So this is kind of the speech in praise of the villain. Either the villain says, "This is why I did everything, and this is how I did it," or someone else, like the mystery person, the cop,
Oh, the
the private detective,
investigator.
the investigator will explain like how everything got done.
Or
So
or also just how tell you how bad the villain is. It gives you an idea of
mm,
how formidable this opponent actually is.
yes. So Faith and Sasha take a moment and they explain about the dark mind and all those connections. They explain about Faith's visions with Amara and Ashaya and how Ashaya wasn't getting seen in the net. And they just kind of take a moment to explain it. So they have that moment, but then there's still some things that are left,
We've got loose ends
some loose
with
ends.
this mysterious group from Venice who we've
Mhm.
seen infiltrating and trying to attack, and there's some council loose ends too. We don't know at this point who tried to murder Ashaya, in
Mhm.
this television studio.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And we also have that loaded gun that still has to go off because Ashaya took a look at Dorian's DNA.
DNA,
So we've
yes.
got some things left.
That's why we're at 80% and the love story concluded.
So yeah, they deal with Amara and they put her someplace where she can be of use, but away from Ashaya, so that she's kind of
Something
air
has to
quotes
happen
happy.
to convince her not to kill Keenan, though. I can't remember. They have some kind of conversation or negotiation because after she wakes up, she's still trying to kill Dorian.
They psychically
And
leash her, which I didn't understand.
right, that's what happens. So actually, Amara allows herself to be leashed. Amara's like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop trying to kill Dorian. I'm not
No.
going to stop trying to kill Keenan. So if you want me to stop, then, and I know you're not going to kill me because you're my sister, I will allow you to psychically leash me and to control me if you think I'm getting out of pocket. That's basically what
Yeah,
happened.
that is what happened. You're
And then
right.
they stow her, they give her a job somewhere far away, and, everything is cool because they know that she's still gonna be herself. They're not able to change her, but they
Mhm.
figured out a way to keep her from causing harm.
Yeah. And we learn more about the Human Alliance and that attack. And then there's another attack
It was a
on
big attack
the big attack on this family, on
on
Ashaya,
all
Dorian,
3.
and Keenan, as they're like in a car ride, having fun, going down
Driving
the
home.
road, and then there's a massive attack on them.
Like 50 human soldiers come and they're well organized. And neither the changelings nor the Psy really respect humans. We learned that in Tally and Clay's book. The humans kind of are seen as third class citizens, as
Mhm.
the worker bees. But we've got this mysterious group in Venice called the Human Alliance, and we find out that they are trying to step things up a notch. They want to be taken seriously. They see the cracks in the council. They see the changelings taking control, and they're like, no, they can't have it all anymore. So for some reason that we don't know quite, well, it has to do with Omega, with this virus. Like if
Mhm.
there is this, if
They
Ashaya
love
knows
that
about
virus.
this Psi virus, that can help put the humans on top. So they send these elite soldiers, and it's just Dorian, Ashaya, and Keenan in some trees, fending them off until help comes. It's a
Yeah,
good
they
scene.
picked the
It's
wrong
really
they
good.
picked the wrong one.
Yeah, yeah. They thought it was going to be a leopard against 50. 50 humans, well-trained soldiers, but Dorian, since he couldn't shift, is
He
worth
has all these other skills.
yeah, he's a good sniper, we know that. He's trained his body in human form to be just as good as a leopard, so he's ready.
Yeah,
He's ready.
they were expecting someone on all fours, and no, they get
Mhm.
this man who is also a leopard, and he picks them off one at a
One by
time,
one.
and, it's Amara that helps to save them because Ashaya has to call out. They have no way to communicate, and
Mhm.
Ashaya has to call out, and the person who hears her is her sister.
Yeah, because 'cause they're always still linked, and then Amara, I guess, calls for backup, and then there's wolves, and there's leopards, and people show up. Just
Everybody comes. Don't
everybody
mess with
comes.
these people.
Right? They should I mean, they learned today. The
Well,
humans
and
learned.
it's don't mess with these people because yeah, yeah, Human Alliance, you think you're upset with this with the council, understandable. But here's the thing, this group is their web of stars is all three. It's the way that it was supposed to be. So you really are messing
Mhm.
with the wrong one.
Mhm.
These are I can't even say humanity. This is the society the at its highest potential. That's who this found family is.
Mhm.
So they win.
Yeah, Dorian wins, protects his family, and then the last thing we have to do
Yeah.
is turn him into a leopard
Yeah.
for real.
The loaded gun has to go off.
Yes. And so he does go undergo some kind of gene therapy, that he doesn't think works, and this is the epilogue. In the
Yeah,
epilogue,
the
they're
epilogue.
camping, and all of a sudden, he doesn't feel so good, and he's, like, turns into a
His
leopard.
tummy hurts.
His tummy hurts, and everything is too low to the ground, or he's too low to the ground,
Yeah.
and she has to be like, "Yo, give into it, you're shifting." And he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's nice.
It
It's kind of
is.
like the Brenna when Brenna gets her shifting back at the end of her
Mhm.
book, um, but he runs off and he doesn't know how to run. He's like a child kid on all fours until he figures it out.
Yeah. And she did, she fakes it. I don't remember, I think we talked about this briefly. She did fake us out because Ashaya figured this out earlier in the book,
Right, right.
what was wrong and how to fix it. And then she thinks she fixed it, but he doesn't shift, and so he's devastated, and
Mhm.
he works to get over it again, and
Yeah.
so we're out of the chapters and we're in the epilogue when this happens. Nice fake.
Yeah, it's like a one extra little bit of tension because she could have made it easy, but she
Mhm.
didn't. And
Mhm.
it's like, we're gonna keep turning the pages because we wanna know.
And that is the story of how this hostage came to pleasure.
I like how you tied that back to
Thank you. I thought
very
you
nice.
would.
Nicely done. But yeah, overall, I thought it was good. It the quibbles I had with their relationship in the beginning turn around at the midpoint, and then I like them together more
Mhm.
because it was a little bit tough reading all of his inner conflict with his leopard wanting her and it being sort of a little too mean and violent for me.
Mhm. I can't argue with that. Her Nalini Singh's quintessential hero is this guy who is like ill feelings. And even though they're leopards and changelings and wolves, they're like, "Oh, I'm feeling some stuff."
Right? They're still men. They're still men. And we're
So,
set up for Mercy's story to be next. We have
mhm.
a lot more screen time with Mercy, who's been around since book 1. She's the only female sentinel of Dark River. There are now that Dorian's matched up, there's no more men in her, pack that are as dominant as she is, which is a problem for her. So, yeah, we have this strong woman. What is she gonna do? She's gotta look elsewhere,
Gonna look elsewhere. I wonder which directions he's gonna look, Leslie.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so looking forward to
Yes,
next.
hopefully you guys will join us with Mercy's book in 2 weeks. In the meantime, Miss Leslie, since we've been reading about all this in magic, do you have any everyday magic that you would like to share with the class?
Yeah, I feel like, there's a quote from Paulo Coelho that the universe is conspiring to help you. And there's just been numerous things that I've been reading and seeing that are sort of making something clear. Like I'm trying to plan for 2024. I'm trying to do my ideas like what do I want to focus on? What do I want to be doing? And there's this quote by Elizabeth Gilbert that came to me yesterday that says, create whatever causes a revolution in your heart. And I just love that so much. And so I'm thinking of where do I want to focus my energy next year? What is causing a revolution in my heart? whether it's writing wise, business wise, personally. And I think I'm going to take the rest of this year, we're still recording this in December, to just really think about that and like make some notes, make some plans, maybe do some quarterly planning, some yearly planning about the things that are just, you know, being revolutionary in my own heart. And that feels very magical to me that I'm getting this message in different ways over the past few weeks, and I'm loving it. So I'm listening. What
Yay.
about you, Inez? Anything magical happening in your world?
So, yes, I just finished Nano, which yay, I do that every month.
Right? At least 50,000 words a month.
But, and it's funny because I don't usually track the words, I write by chapters, and so
Mhm.
yeah, I give myself stickers, star stickers, sparkly star stickers for every 500
Woo!
words, but then I promptly forget about it until the next day when I'm trying to earn more star stickers because that's just how my achiever mind works. But I got to get myself a present for Nano, and I'm so thrilled at the present that I got. I got myself. I like to, I'm a businesswoman, so of course I plan in bullet journals because who needs spreadsheets when you can have pretty bullet journals? So for my two pen names, I have a pen name Shanae Johnson, and I have my pen name Ines Johnson. Shanae is always green, and Ines is always purple, and I found these two beautiful shades of bullet journals. They are so gorgeous. But not only that, I also got I'm I'm a Tombow girl. Tombow Fudenosuke markers. I love Tombow Fudenosuke, but I keep hearing people talking about the Ohuhu markers. I know it sounds like I'm talking nonsense. Tombow and
It's a
Ohuhu.
whole nother language.
It's a whole
Planner
nother language.
language.
It really is. But I got for winning Nano, I got myself a set of 160 Ohuhu markers. And then I sat up last night and I organized these 160 markers in a beautiful ombre.
And that brings joy.
It brought joy.
Now, 160 markers, that brings your total marker collection to like 8,000, right? We need to have a picture of your office to
No,
see how many pens and markers
I don't think
Ines
it would
Johnson has
fit in the screen.
in the frame. We need like a panoramic shot to get them all in.
Pretty much.
I
Pretty
have my
much.
little like 3 or 4 cups of pens and markers, and yeah,
I
it's
get so excited when I go to a store and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this for Leslie." And Leslie's just like, "Why? I don't need this." I'm like, "Who's
I'm
talking about
trying to
need?"
become a minimalist. My goal is just
Why?
to minimize my possessions. I threw out hundreds of pens. I cleaned out my
Why would you
drawers.
tell me this?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm triggering you. I apologize. But I still have dozens left, so
Thank you.
it's
That calms my nerves.
fine.
It's trying to steal my everyday magic.
No, I appreciate it. I feel your joy. I love the ombre, color code it. Yes, bring it
Yes.
on.
Yes. All right. What else is going on in Leslie World that our listeners should know about?
Always writing, always more books. If you are a writer, you can catch me on my Footnotes newsletter, which comes out every Monday. It's my newsletter for writers. It is at myimaginaryfriends.net/footnotes. And you can learn more about my imaginary world building course and the other courses that I'm working on and just have some inspiration for your writing life. What about you, Ines?
So if it's January, you are a little too late for my new 4 books a year course that I'm running to show you how not only to write a book in a quarter, but to market it and to brand yourself. And we have monthly masterminds where you get to come and be in the spotlight, and we all help you to solve a problem. So if it's January, you're a little too late for that. Make sure to take a look at my website, inesrice.com/the number 4BAY for books a year. But what's perpetually open is my page turner pacing course. And I liken these two courses where if you are a lone wolf, then you want to take the page turner pacing course at inesrice.com/PTP for page turner pacing. But if you need pack, then you need to take the 4 books a year course, which will open up again in March. And I would love to see you there. You can go to either one of those URLs to find out more.
Awesome.
So, guys, we want to thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I hope you had some fun and you just got into it with these characters and you're ready to read the next book. Please let us know what you think. You can leave a comment on YouTube with your thoughts on the episode. You could also share it with a friend who loves romance, specifically romance with a bite. But please make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And you can always check out our book schedule on our website, inkandmagic.net. And you can also catch up on episodes you might have missed there. But read along with us. We would love to have you join us. and we'll see you the next time.
Bye.
Bye.